I haven't even put the Utah logo on the back wall here on YouTube if you're watching there. And already there is talk of Utah looking elsewhere for a future conference. I'm Pete Mundo. Heartland College Sports is where you find us covering the Big 12. Thanks for being here. If you're on that YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. That way you never miss an episode. And we always love our listeners who have been there forever on the podcast. Hit that 5-star rating and review. So this dropped over the weekend from Dick Weiss, who is a National College Sports Writer Hall of Famer. He is a New York Daily News writer. He is not some two-bit huckster on social media. This guy's been around the block. I know in Big 12 country, we probably don't know Dick Weiss, but just to put this into perspective, I used to work in New York before coming out to Kansas City, and I was working at Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, and some other places, and Dick Weiss was a known commodity in the New York media market. So this is not some rumor on Twitter. This is not some YouTuber looking for clicks, trying to create some story that's not there. This is coming from Dick Weiss, who, once again, as I noted, is a National Sports Writer Hall of Famer and a writer for the New York Daily News. And he put up on X over the weekend, quote, and I'm going to share his full X post here. No longer tweet, X post. He writes here, speculation is circulating about the potential shifts in college sports conferences. There is discussion about Utah possibly moving to the ACC despite its recent move to the Big 12, with some suggesting the ACC might be a better fit due to its ESPN network agreement and potential for increased TV value. However, skepticism exists regarding the stability and attractiveness of the ACC compared to the Big 12. End X post from Dick Weiss. The last sentence is all I need to know. If Utah thinks it's better off in the ACC than the Big 12, then they're run by idiots. I don't know what else needs to be said. Right now, the two biggest brands in the ACC are looking for a way out. That would be Florida State and Clemson. They want out. They want to be in the SEC. They'll take the Big 10. They want out. If Utah were to somehow believe that it's better off in that conference than the Big 12, then they are completely clueless. And I have no sympathy for them if they actually do believe that. Now, of course, Utah's not commented on this, but once again, this is the report from Dick Weiss. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this from afar and I'm saying the Big 12 may not have that blue blood as we perceive them to be in college sports, which I think is an antiquated way to look at college sports, but a lot of people still do it. That being said, the Big 12 as a whole is greater than the individual parts. The sum of the Big 12 far exceeds many of the individual parts. And Utah has not even been here for a minute to realize that. Utah has not been here to experience that. Utah has not even officially joined the conference that's coming up on July 1. And now you have things dropping that they're looking for a way out. So at this point, it's a report. You run with it. You take with it, a grain of salt. It's telling to me that I think Dick Weiss's connections are much more in the ACC land than they are in Utah land, which means the ACC may be trying to prep itself and prevent total implosion. Because if Florida State and Clemson get out and go where they want to go, you're going to potentially see people jump ship. You could have what happened to the Pac-12 happen to the ACC. Two big dogs go, Washington, Oregon, they're out, or USC, UCLA, depending on how you want to look at it. Probably USC, UCLA were the first to go, of course, then Oregon, Washington. They were the two holding that conference together. If Florida State and Clemson were to leave, what happens then? It's every man for themselves. That's when Brett Yormark can poach. That's when Brett Yormark can say, call Virginia Tech right now. Get NC State on the horn. Let's go Pittsburgh. Where's Louisville at? That's where Brett Yormark would wisely go and try to get the best pieces remaining from the ACC. And Miami. I mean, Miami might be of the opinion it should be in the SEC or the Big Ten, but, I don't know. I'm not convinced that necessarily either conference is very appealing. So you call Miami. Undoubtedly. You call North Carolina, although perception is North Carolina may have interest in a school or a conference like the Big Ten. Do the academic standards and things of that nature, it gets the Big Ten into the Southeast footprint. So that might make some sense. But you make the calls that need to be made. Geographically and also culturally, I do think the 4 schools I named make a lot of sense. Pittsburgh, Louisville, NC State, Virginia Tech. But that's a future conversation. That's if Florida State and Clemson get their way. Now, why is all this happening? The line, by the way, that we need to address. There is discussion about Utah possibly moving to the ACC despite its recent move to the Big 12, with some suggesting the ACC might be a better fit due to its ESPN network agreement and potential for increased TV value. So the ACC did make more money than the Big 12 last year, overall and on a per-team basis. Here are the numbers. They were put out by USA Today for each conference. This is 2023 fiscal year. Big 10 made $880 million. The SEC made $852 million. The ACC made $707 million. The Pac-12 made $604 million. The Big 10 made $511 million. Now, the ACC saw a big year-over-year jump, in part because of a carriage agreement between Comcast and the ACC network that fully vested. They also made an extra $40 million due to the Orange Bowl not being a college football playoff semifinal. So it was a host bowl for the ACC. The ACC also has more schools than the Big 12, and the Big 12, let's not forget, retains its own Tier 3 rights, i.e., the Longhorn Network. And every school has them. Of course, not as lucrative as the Longhorn Network. However, the Big 12 schools retain their third-tier rights. So that means that money at $510 million does not include what these schools make on those Tier 3 rights after that $510 million is divvied up. So that needs to be noted. That needs to be explained here. It's not as simple as saying, well, the ACC made $700 million, the Big 12 made $500 million. Obviously, the ACC is the place to be. The Big 12 on a per-team basis, once all this realignment is done, once everybody is fully vested, the Big 12 teams will, on average, be making more money than the ACC teams, because the ACC is straddled by this terrible ACC network deal that goes through 2036. That's what Florida State and Clemson are upset about in large part. It doesn't look like a good deal in hindsight, and they want out. When they see SEC teams who are going to be making $50, $60, $70 million per year per school, they're like, whoa, we're going to fall behind, and we're going to fall behind fast unless we do something as soon as possible. So that's what this is always going to come down to. It's going to come down to money. But Utah's got to be smart here. They cannot be fooled by the dangling of some, larger pot of money this past fiscal year by the ACC versus the Big 12, because you got to look at the complete picture here. You do. And Utah's got to realize that. So I think the report, because of where Dick Weiss is in New York and who the large part of his connections would be coming from ACC people who are trying to make it seem like the Big 12 is less stable. Like the Big 12 is the conference that might be on the verge of, losing members. I don't believe that. Now, we've had beef with some Utah fans who don't want to be in this conference, who want no part of being here. They think the Big 12 should be looking more at places like Vegas for different events. They feel like the Big 12 is maybe just a truck stop conference in the heartland of America. You really want to be in the ACC? You think the ACC is going to relocate anything to within 1,000 miles of you guys? Come on now. The ACC breadwinners, the money people, are in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. They ain't going your way for anything. The Big 12 will consider it. Brett Yormark, I'm sure, will consider doing some stuff out in Vegas. Heck, Big 12 Media Days is taking place in Vegas. But Utah is much better off from a multitude of angles in the Big 12 over the next few years than they are looking at this possibility or even this discussion of the ACC. It's not even close. And while Utah fans may not love us in the Big 12, you got to give it a shot. I mean, you ask any of the 4 new schools who have come in, And they have all said, anecdotally speaking from the fan bases, that this conference thus far has exceeded their expectations. From a fan base perspective, from a college town perspective, everything you would want to have, competitiveness on the field, fun off the field, it's got what you want. And I don't know if this all comes down to beef between Utah and BYU. I don't know if it's the old chip on the shoulder, Utah thinking it should have been in the Big Ten with an invite, along with, of course, the other Pac-12, former Pac-12 schools, that they got to just get over it. I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, Utah cannot consider this. It does not make an ounce of sense for them. You go to the ACC, whether it's now or, a year into being in the Big 12, and you're going to rue the day. There's just no doubt in my mind that you will rue the day you make that move. Because if there's a conference right now, when you look at these two, if you just look right now at the Big 12 versus the ACC, the Big 12 is by far the more stable conference, and it is not even close. The Big 12 now will have 16 teams, hopefully swimming in the same direction, rowing in the same direction, where the ACC right now is dealing with lawsuits and teams who very clearly, as they leak to the media, want out. Why would you want to go down that road and be a part of that if you're the Utah Utes? You should not want any part of it. I'm Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. We are talking about this, by the way, on the Heartland College Sports message board. So join us there. Go to the website, heartlandcollegesports.com. Click on the Members Forum tab. They are free. So make sure you get in there. You join us. Great Big 12 conversations are happening on this and much more on the message boards. A great way to just interact with fellow Big 12 fans. We are continuing to build that community step by step. We appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up on the channel, and of course on the podcast. Leave that 5-star rating and review. Takes you 30 seconds, and we really appreciate you being here at heartlandcollegesports.com. Go Big 12.